Buying small, boring businesses is a great way to grow your wealth consistently. But there are some types of businesses that I would never suggest anyone touch. From businesses that tend to fail more than average, ones that operate on low margins, and even worse, betting on hype that dies faster than you can anticipate. So let's dive in to ensure you don't make a mistake that should have been avoided. Starting with restaurants. Now, restaurants are some of the most common businesses that are around. You drive down the average town, wherever you live, and you're going to see a bunch of them on the main strip. Now, this is one of the reasons why I wouldn't touch restaurants. One, it's super competitive. And the second main reason is that the margins on restaurants are super low. Now, the typical business that I like to go after is going to have profit margins between 15 and 35%. I call it the golden ratio. Now, restaurants typically fall way below that 15%. They're getting down to more like the 5 to the max 10% in terms of profit margins. Now, why is that too low? Now, one of the ways in which we acquire businesses is we use debt. So we're going out and getting SBA 7A loans, or we're using seller financing. Well, that's going to add a payment that you're going to have to pay every single month for years into the future. And so if your margin already, when you're looking at this business and you look at the finances and it's already around a 5-10% max margin, now add on debt payments to that profit margin. It's going to constrict that even further to being potentially 2 to 6% profit margins. Now, if anything goes wrong in that business, any kind of machinery breaks and you have an unanticipated expense, whatever may happen, your margins are so thin that you're going to be sweating bullets. So therefore, we stick to businesses that have larger profit margins. Another reason why restaurants are so hard is because of the labor, right? So not only just your waiters and your waitresses, but the people that are cooking the food, the people that are cleaning the restaurant, keeping those people coming in every single day, performing at a high capacity is very hard to do. Now, obviously, there's amazing restaurants out there that have been around for decades making great money, but they are definitely not the norm. Most restaurants are losing money on a month-to-month basis, and most of them die within the first 2 years of operation. Now, but even though restaurants are a business type I would never buy for the reasons that I just mentioned, there's another business model that people underestimate in terms of difficulty and overestimate in terms of what they can actually gain, and that is e-commerce. Another word for this might be Amazon FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon. Now, one of the reasons why e-com is overrated in my book is because of the difficulty that it takes to maintain profitability. Now, let me explain. E-com is going to make money based off volume for most people that are using this method of running a business. Now, e-commerce, you're going on, you're finding products and you're buying them at wholesale prices, and then you're selling them at a higher price, and you're making the split between the two prices, the arbitrage. Now, most of the time, because the wholesale price and the actual retail price are pretty close, your margins are pretty thin on each of these products. But in order to make a lot of money, you have to make sure that you're selling a bunch of units. Therefore, it is volume that makes you your profit. It is not the one transaction or two transactions. It's doing hundreds of transactions at maybe a 1 to 3% profit margin that is going to start making you serious money. Now, when everything is going great and you have a great product that you're selling and it seems to be flying off the shelves, it's a great business model. The second that demand starts to wane, that is when it becomes much more difficult. You have to consistently find great winning products in order to keep that momentum and that revenue growing. Now, the products out there that are not built on hype or not very trendy, those products are more of your staple products. Think about toilet paper or paper towels or paper plates. Now, the margins on selling these things are going to be extremely low because there's not only are these products commonplace, people can go to many stores and buy them, but also you have so many competitors that are also selling it at very, very low prices. So your margins on these are going to be slim to none. So therefore you have to go after more trending products. That is where you're going to make up most of your margins. Things that are new on the market, things that are trendy and people think are cool and people want to try in their home, but that's usually only for a certain period of time. And that time might be a month, it might be 6 months, it might be a year, but eventually those sales will start to wane and you have to find the next trending product. So if you're very good at finding that product, you're very good at doing the research, and you understand that there's going to be a lot of revenue roller coaster ride with an e-com business, then maybe that's something that you're okay with. I'm not. I like things that have predictable, very good, healthy golden ratio margins, and e-com is not the one that fits into that ballgame. So all that to say, if you're thinking that you'll have an easy payday starting in e-commerce as a beginner, you're sadly mistaken. Okay, this takes someone who knows what they're doing to keep that gravy train going. But another business model that has gotten more and more popular over the past few years is the next one. And I will not touch them unless they have a certain competitive advantage. Let's see what it is. Small landscaping companies. Now you're seeing I'm emphasizing the adjective there, which is small. Okay, because I do like landscaping companies that are above $750,000 a year in revenue. But for the ones that are smaller than that, this is the reason why I don't like them. Now, when you have a smaller landscaping company, let's say it's a residential landscaping company, you're going up to people in neighborhoods and you're charging them $75 to $120 every month to cut their lawns and maintain their landscape. The hard part about these types of businesses is usually a race to the bottom. Now, you can have any Tom, Dick, or Harry go to the local Home Depot, buy a lawnmower for $200, go to their neighbor's house and say, hey, I'll cut your lawn for half of what the other guy's charging you. And all of a sudden, you've lost a customer, okay? Because it's a simple lawn. Really, anyone can do it. Many of us grew up cutting our own lawn. So it's not a skill set that takes a lot of time to develop. And they go out and they undercut you. And now, to get that customer back, you have to go and convince that homeowner that you can do it either at the same price or you're so much better than they are, and try to get your customer back. And that's not a competition or an arena that I want to battle in. I don't want to be ever racing to the bottom on prices. I want to make sure my prices are competitive, but I want to make sure that they are high enough to where I'm getting a really good, consistent margin. Smaller landscaping companies are competing against these types of things. So the reason why I like landscaping companies over $750K a year in revenue is because typically when you are doing more revenue that is higher than that $750,000, above $1 million in revenue, you have enough teams in place, you have enough crews that are going out that they can do larger jobs. Now, this is where the Tom, Dick, and Harry going to the Home Depot buying a lawnmower for $200 cannot compete against you. And that's the position you want to be in. You want to be doing jobs like large HOA communities that have hundreds of homes, or doing commercial properties that have massive landscapes that need to be kept updated and constantly kept looking good. Those are the types of deals you want to go after, because guess what? The competitors out there are far and few between. Not many people can just start up a landscaping company and all of a sudden get one of those larger jobs. They're going to want references. They're going to want to see that you can do this on a consistent basis. And so going after those businesses that have that more than $750K up to $1 million in revenue businesses, they're going to have those crews in place that can do those types of work. So those are the ones I'm going after. If you're underneath that, it probably means that you got one crew, and that is not going to be enough to compete against the people that I want to be competing against. But even though landscaping businesses can be interesting, if they've scaled past $750,000 a year in revenue, this next business model, I wouldn't start even if I had a burning passion for it. And the reason might be surprising to you. Okay, so what are the reasons why I don't like retail businesses? Number one is the margins. Retail businesses have very slim margins, typically less than 10%. They're going off of a volume game, just like we talked earlier about e-com stores. Now, bringing up e-com stores again, that is the number one competitor to retail businesses, right? Most customers, instead of going into the store, driving 10 minutes or 20 minutes down to the local strip mall to walk in the store to purchase a product, I'm gonna go look up it on Amazon within 5 minutes, order it, and the next day it's at my door. That is their competition. And so you heavily rely upon foot traffic. So location is everything. That foot traffic can change on a whim, right? A new mall can open up 2 miles down, and all the traffic that you were getting into your little strip mall, wherever you were, is now going to the new mall that has all the cool attractions, all the cool restaurants. And so it's very, very reliant upon foot traffic. The margins are small, and your competitors are getting better and more market share. More and more people are shopping online than going into a store to buy it. So for those reasons, I'm completely out of buying a retail business. That's why this is a business model that I wouldn't touch in any market. But a close competitor to retail businesses, and potentially an even worse business to acquire, is the next one on my list: grocery stores. Grocery stores share a couple reasons with retail stores. One of them is the extremely low margins. And we're not talking 10% low. We're talking like 2-3% low. All right. Grocery stores are all on volume. So it's all about just selling as much food as they possibly can at extremely small margins. And over the amount of volume that happens, you're making then your profit. So the margins are extremely small. Second, they're extremely costly to run. So we're not just talking about filling up your store with all your product. That may take a week to turn. It might take 30 days to turn. It depends on your product and how quickly you can get it turned over, but also the labor aspect of it. Grocery stores are heavily reliant upon the labor that runs them. You have your stock boys and stock girls. You have the people that are checking you out. You have the constant cleaning that goes on aisle 11 because so-and-so knocked over a can of sauce and now it's all over the place. Looks like a murder scene. All of those things are happening happening inside of a grocery store. So you have labor that's constantly high turnover. So you constantly have to go hire and train people to bring them in to only last for 6 months to a year, to go and find more people to hire and train them in. And also the margins on the food you're selling and all the other products you're selling are extremely thin. And so it's all a volume game. On top of that, you're dealing against all these national brands, right? Your Publix, your Kroger's, your Walmart's, where everyone is going to shop because they can get better pricing. If you're buying a small grocery store, you have high costs, low margins, so you're gonna have to really try to differentiate yourself from why not go to the other big supermarket down the street. It is not a game that I'm at all interested in getting involved in. But even though grocery stores work on insanely low margins and many headaches, there's a business type that looks great on paper, but only when the time is right, and that's the exact issue. Let me explain. Last thing I'm going to talk about is trendy franchises. Okay. Now by trendy, I mean things that come and go within a few years. So for example, you guys remember about 10 years ago when Froyo was like all the rave. Everyone was taking their dates to Froyo after the movie. You take your kids to Froyo. It was just a great place to go meet and just make your own frozen yogurt and put any toppings you want on it, and have like a 2,000 calorie meal, right? It was kind of insane. And it was super trendy for a while. You saw them popping up everywhere. Well, now I bet if you were to go to the same places that 10 years ago were humming with people going to Froyo, you would find out that they're largely empty, okay? Because it was a trend. Now, the same thing happens with things like $10 cookies, like Crumble cookies. You have Insomnia cookies and a couple other brands out there. Great cookies, but they're like $10 cookies, $10 cookies. So when a recession happens, is everyone still going out and buying $10 cookies? I think the answer is no. And we already see the trends with those franchises that had a massive, insane, quick growth, and now they're starting to decline in revenue per store, okay? So we want to stay away from trendy ideas that come and go, right? Cool idea, super cool. Think about cryo chambers where people can go and they can just put themselves into a box and freeze themselves near to death for about a minute, right? And there's some other ones that are happening all the time. Now, if you know when to get in and when to get out, so if you were one of the few first franchisees with Crumble Cookie, you probably did really well. And if you exited a few years later, you probably did exceptionally well. But now the people that are getting into that game are getting onto the latter half of that trend line, and it's not going up from here. So we want to stick away from those types of franchises that are following trends. All right, so I talked about all these different businesses that are a total waste of money, and you shouldn't buy them even if the stars align. That doesn't mean there aren't great businesses you shouldn't buy out there, though. The exact opposite is true, actually. Many businesses can be the right fit for you, and if you want to acquire your first business potentially even without spending a dime of your own money, click on the screen and I'll see you there.